William Carter looked out the viewport of Proxima Station at the stars beyond. Even after 5 years as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Confederation, the view still took his breath away. Thousands of stars, each possibly home to civilizations, older than human recorded history. And yet here he was representing humanity among beings who had mastered interstellar travel when Earth was still figuring out electricity. The communication device on his wrist buzzed. His assistant, Diane Miller, was calling. "Ambassador, the emergency council session begins in 20 minutes, she said, her voice tight with worry. "Thank you, Diane. I'll be right there." Carter straightened his navy blue uniform and checked his appearance one last time. At 53, with graying hair at his temples and lines around his eyes, he looked every bit the former history professor he was. No one, including himself, had expected the United Nations to select an academic rather than a career diplomat for humanity's most important position. But 5 years in, the decision had proven wise. Carter's knowledge of human conflicts and resolutions had given him unique insights into galactic politics. The main council chamber was already filling with representatives from over 30 species when Carter arrived. The massive circular room featured rising tiers of seats surrounding a central speaking platform. Holographic displays showing real-time translations hovered above each delegation. Carter nodded to the Julian representative, a tall, 8-limbed being whose species communicated as much through color changes in their skin as through words. Next to the Julian sat the Morrigan delegation, short, furry beings with large eyes who had been among the first to welcome humans to the Confederation. Taking his seat in the relatively small Earth section, Carter leaned toward Diane. "What's the latest?" Diane handed him a datapad. 3 Elysian worlds under attack. The Dravkarians have broken 1,000 years of isolation. The Confederation is in panic mode. Carter frowned as he reviewed the information. The Dravkarian Empire was legendary among Confederation species, ancient, powerful, and isolationist. Their technology was said to be centuries beyond the Confederation's capabilities. Most species considered themselves fortunate that the Empire had shown no interest in expansion for the past millennium. Until now. The council leader, a tall, slender being named Vorlath, with silvery skin and 4 arms, called the session to order. The chamber fell silent. "Esteemed representatives," Vorlath began, "we face an unprecedented crisis. The Dravkarian Empire has attacked 3 worlds of the Elysian Commonwealth without warning or provocation. Initial reports indicate massive casualties and planetary defense systems overwhelmed within hours. The Elysian representative will now address the council." From his seat, Carter watched the Elysian ambassador approach the central platform. Elysians were beautiful beings, tall and graceful with translucent blue skin, through which you could see the gentle pulsing of their 3 hearts. This one's skin, however, was pale with stress, the hearts beating rapidly. "I speak for the HFY, remaining Council of Elysia," the ambassador said, his voice melodic even in distress. "Our outer colonies of New Haven, Serenity, and Pax are under direct assault. Millions of my people are dead or displaced. Our defensive capabilities cannot withstand Dravkarian technology. We formally request Confederation military aid before our homeworld faces the same fate." The chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Carter sat quietly, watching the reactions. Fear was the predominant emotion. Fear and hesitation. The Zulian representative stood. "While we sympathize with Elysia's plight, engagement with Dravkarian forces would be catastrophic for all involved. Their technological superiority is well documented. Logic dictates a diplomatic approach." Several representatives voiced agreement. A diplomatic mission. Sanctions. Anything but direct confrontation. Carter listened as speaker after speaker offered sympathy but little concrete. Help. The Elysian ambassador's posture became increasingly defeated with each response. When the initial reactions had subsided, Vorlath addressed the chamber again. "We will now vote on forming a diplomatic delegation to approach the Dravkarian command. Representatives, please." "Point of information," Carter said, rising from his seat. All eyes turned to the human section. Vorlath nodded. "The Earth representative is recognized." Before we vote, I request details on the Elysian casualties. Are we talking about military targets or civilian populations? The Elysian ambassador's voice trembled as he answered. The Dravkarians made no distinction. Population centers were targeted first, defense installations second. On New Haven, they destroyed every hospital before targeting military bases. Carter nodded grimly. Thank you for that clarification. Earth requests time to consult with our government before any vote is taken. This caused murmurs throughout the chamber. It was unusual to delay a vote, especially in emergency situations. We will reconvene in 6 standard hours, Vorlath announced after a brief consultation with other senior council members. The diplomatic delegation vote will occur then. As representatives filed out of the chamber, the Elysian ambassador approached Carter, his movement stiff with dignity despite his obvious distress. Ambassador Carter, he said quietly. I must speak with you. Carter nodded and led the Elysian to a small meeting room adjacent to the main chamber. Once the door closed behind them, the Elysian's composure faltered. My people are dying while the Confederation debates, he said, his voice breaking. The diplomatic delegation will take weeks to organize, more weeks to reach Dravkarian space, and the Empire will simply ignore them. By then, millions more will die. Carter's expression remained calm, but his eyes showed understanding. What are you asking of Earth, Ambassador? Your species is young in space, but ancient in warfare. The historical records you shared with the Confederation show humans have a unique understanding of conflict. You have fought yourselves for millennia, yet somehow avoided extinction. Carter nodded slowly. We haven't always been proud of that history. But you have survived it, the Elysian insisted. My people have known peace for so long we have forgotten how to fight. The Confederation species fear confrontation. Humanity does not. For a long moment, Carter was silent. Then he asked, What would you have us do? Our ships are few and technologically inferior to the Dravkarians. Perhaps technology is not the only measure of effectiveness, the Elysian said. Your historical records speak of guerrilla warfare, asymmetric conflicts, battles won against superior forces through innovation and determination. Carter's eyes narrowed slightly. You've been studying our military history very carefully. We have been studying all species since joining the Confederation. Yours is the only one that offers hope in our current situation. Carter stood and walked to the viewport. The endless stars reflected in his eyes as he considered the implications. I will speak with my government, he said finally. I make no promises, but we will consider all options. Return to the council chamber in 6 hours. You will have Earth's answer then. As the Elysian left, Carter touched the communication device on his wrist. Diane, arrange an immediate secure channel to the Security Council on Earth. Priority Alpha. Yes. Ambassador, may I ask why? Carter looked out at the stars again, his expression resolute. Because humanity is about to change the course of galactic history. The secure communication room on Proxima Station was small, but equipped with the best technology Earth could provide. Carter sat alone as the holographic display flickered to life. One by one, the members of Earth's United Nations Security Council appeared before him. President Alan Foster spoke first. Ambassador Carter, we received your emergency transmission. The situation sounds dire. It is, Mr. President, Carter replied. The Dravkarian Empire has broken 1,000 years of isolation to attack the Elysian Commonwealth. 3 worlds so far, with massive civilian casualties. And the Confederation's response? Asked Defense Secretary Lisa Rodriguez. Fear and hesitation. They're voting on a diplomatic mission in a few hours, but it's just a delay tactic. No one wants to confront the Dravkarians. General Nathan Cole, the head of Earth's Space Force, leaned forward. What exactly are the Elysians asking of us, Ambassador? They want military intervention. They've studied our history and believe humans have a unique understanding of warfare that other species lack. The Security Council members exchanged glances. Earth's military might was minimal compared to most Confederation species, let alone the Dravkarian Empire. We have 40 ships, General Cole said flatly. Most are exploration vessels with limited weapons. The Dravkarians must have thousands of warships. I'm aware of that, General, Carter replied. But the Elysian ambassador made an interesting point. Technology isn't the only measure of effectiveness. President Foster's expression was serious. You're suggesting we actually consider this? Our military is designed for Earth defense, not galactic warfare. I'm suggesting we consider all options, Mr. President, Carter said, including ones the Confederation would never imagine. Secretary Rodriguez spoke up. The Elysians are being slaughtered. If we do nothing, we're sending a message to the entire galaxy about Earth's willingness to stand by during atrocities. General, Cole nodded slowly. The Dravkarians have been isolated for a millennium. They've never faced humans before. That might give us an advantage they wouldn't expect. What kind of advantage? The President asked. Unpredictability, Cole replied. From what we know, most Confederation warfare follows set patterns. Direct confrontation between roughly equal forces. We've spent our history finding ways to win when outgunned and outmanned. Science advisor Helen Wright, who had been silent until now, joined the conversation. The psychological impact could be significant. Our joining the conflict would be completely unexpected by both the Confederation and the Dravkarians. It would also be unprecedented, President Foster pointed out. Earth has never fought in a war beyond our solar system. Carter looked at each council member in turn. We joined the Galactic Confederation because we believed in a community of species working together. If we stand aside while the Elysians are destroyed, what was the point? There was silence as each person considered the implications. Finally, President Foster spoke. General Cole, if we were to provide military assistance, what approach would you recommend? Cole didn't hesitate. Not direct confrontation. We'd use guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run strikes, target supply lines, communication systems. Make them fight on our terms, not theirs. Could it work? The President asked. I can't guarantee victory, Cole admitted. But I can guarantee we'd be more effective than the Elysians expect and certainly more than the Dravkarians would predict. President Foster turned to each council member. Secretary Rodriguez? I support intervention, she said firmly. Dr. Wright, the science advisor, nodded. The risk is significant, but the potential diplomatic benefit is greater. We could establish Earth as a serious power in the Confederation. The President looked finally at the UN Secretary General, who had been listening quietly. The United Nations was founded to prevent the scourge of war, the Secretary General said, but also to protect the innocent. I believe this qualifies. I support intervention with the full backing of the General Assembly. President Foster took a deep breath. Ambassador Carter, you have your answer. Earth will join the conflict against the Dravkarian Empire in defense of the Elysian Commonwealth. Carter felt a weight settle on his shoulders, but also a strange sense of rightness. What specifically should I tell the Council? Tell them humanity stands with those who cannot defend themselves, Foster said. General Cole will coordinate with you on deployment strategies. The Space Force can have the first ships ready to move within 72 hours. After the transmission ended, Carter remained seated, considering the enormity of what was about to happen. Earth was going to war among the stars. His wrist device buzzed. Ambassador, 30 minutes until the Council reconvenes, Diane reminded him. Thank you, Diane. I'll be there shortly. When Carter entered the Council chamber again, he noticed the subdued atmosphere. Representatives spoke in hushed tones, their postures showing resignation. The vote for a diplomatic mission seemed a foregone conclusion. Vorlath called the session to order. Representatives, before we vote on the diplomatic mission proposal, does any delegation wish to make additional statements? Carter stood. Earth requests recognition. The representative from Earth is recognized, Vorlath said. Carter walked to the central platform, feeling the eyes of every species upon him. He stood tall, his voice clear and carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Confederation, I bring word from Earth's United Nations Security Council regarding the crisis facing the Elysian Commonwealth. The chamber grew quieter, an unusual level of attention focused on the human. For 5 years, Earth has learned from this body. We have benefited from your knowledge and experience in countless ways. Today we offer something in return. He paused, looking around the chamber at the various species watching him. On behalf of the United Nations of Earth, I formally announce our intention to join the conflict against the Dravkarian Empire in defense of the Elysian Commonwealth. The silence that followed was absolute. Then, as if a dam had broken, voices erupted throughout the chamber. Shock, disbelief, confusion. The Julian representative was the first to formally respond. Ambassador Carter, with all due respect, this is madness. Your species has barely mastered interstellar travel. The Dravkarian Empire's technology would overwhelm your forces within days. Perhaps, Carter acknowledged, but we believe there are forms of warfare the Dravkarians have never encountered. The Dravkarian observer, standing at the back of the chamber, stepped forward. Tall and reptilian with gleaming scales and eyes like polished amber, he cut an imposing figure. Your species is young and foolish, he said, his translator giving his words a harsh edge. This is not a conflict for primitives who have barely left their homeworld. Carter met the Dravkarian's gaze without flinching. Maybe not, but we're joining it anyway. The Elysian ambassador's 3 hearts were visible through his skin, beating rapidly with what might have been hope. Earth formally requests permission to establish forward bases in Elysian territory, Carter continued. Vorlath looked stunned. This request is unprecedented. We will need to vote immediately. As the voting commenced, Carter stood firm. History was being made and humanity was about to show the galaxy what it was truly capable of. The vote to allow Earth to establish forward bases in Elysian territory passed by a narrow margin. Many council representatives voted in favor out of pure curiosity. How would these primitive humans fight against the most advanced military power in known space? As Carter left the council chamber, representatives from a dozen species approached him, each offering advice, warnings, or simply watching him with newfound interest. The Julian representative, skin shifting through patterns of blue and green, moved alongside Carter as he walked. Ambassador, your announcement defies all logical analysis. Our simulations give human forces a survival probability of less than 8%. Thank you for your concern, Carter replied politely. But humans have a long history of beating unfavorable odds. This is not a matter of odds, the Julian insisted. It is simple technological reality. The Dravkarian ships can destroy your vessels before you even detect their presence. Carter smiled slightly. Then we'll have to make sure they don't see us coming. Before the Julian could respond, the Elysian ambassador hurried over, his 3 hearts visible through his translucent skin, pulsing in an excited rhythm. Ambassador Carter, my government wishes to express profound gratitude. Transport ships have already been dispatched to escort your fleet to our territory. Carter nodded. We'll need complete access to your intelligence on Dravkarian movements and detailed maps of your star systems. Of course, the Elysian agreed quickly. Though I must warn you, our military information may be limited. We have focused on art and science for millennia, not warfare. All information will be valuable, Carter assured him. We'll make this work. As they spoke, Carter noticed the Dravkarian observer watching from a distance, his reptilian features impossible to read. With a slight nod to the Elysian, Carter approached the observer. I don't believe we've been formally introduced, Carter said. Ambassador William Carter of Earth. The Dravkarian looked down at him, standing nearly 2 meters tall. I am Observer, Sekval. I will convey news of your foolishness to the Imperial Command. Please do, Carter said pleasantly. Also convey that Earth does not recognize your claim to Elysian worlds and will defend them accordingly. Sekval's scaled lips pulled back, showing sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. I will enjoy the reports of your destruction, human. Your species will make an interesting footnote in Imperial history. We tend to be more than footnotes, Carter replied. You might want to prepare your commanders for that. Leaving the observer, Carter returned to the Earth section where Diane waited. The Security Council is requesting updates every 6 hours, she told him, and General Cole has already transmitted initial deployment plans. The first ships will depart Earth within 48 hours. Carter nodded. We need to set up a command center here on Proxima Station, and I want to interview Elysian refugees, especially any with military or technical backgrounds. Already working on both, Diane said efficiently. Also, 17 other Confederation species have requested private meetings with you. 17? Carter raised an eyebrow. Apparently, declaring war on the most powerful empire in known space gets attention, she said with a small smile. What do you want me to tell them? Schedule the meetings. We might need allies before this is over. For the next 3 days, Carter barely slept. When he wasn't conferencing with Earth, he was meeting with Confederation representatives or interviewing Elysians. Most Confederation species expressed polite skepticism about Earth's chances, though a few seemed genuinely intrigued by humanity's boldness. On the 4th day, news arrived that the first Earth vessels had reached Elysian space. The fleet's commander, Captain Grace Martinez, established a secure channel to Proxima Station. Ambassador Carter, the Intrepid and 7 support vessels have arrived at the coordinates you provided, she reported. Her dark eyes showed determination, despite the obvious fatigue on her face. We've linked up with Elysian Defense Forces, though that's a generous term for what they have. What's your assessment, Captain? Carter asked. The Elysians have courage but minimal combat experience. Their technology is impressive but not designed for war. As for the Dravkarians, she paused. They're advanced but predictable. Their attack patterns follow strict formations, no improvisation. That could be useful, Carter noted. Agreed. We've already begun implementing Operation Mosquito. The Elysians thought we were joking until we explained the concept. Carter smiled. Keep me updated on their reactions, and Captain, be careful out there. Always, sir. She ended the transmission. Diane looked at Carter curiously. Operation Mosquito? General Cole's idea, Carter explained. Throughout Earth's history, small mobile forces have defeated larger armies by refusing direct confrontation. A mosquito is tiny compared to a human, but it can drive a person mad by attacking and retreating, attacking and retreating. And humans are the mosquitoes in this scenario? Exactly. We can't match the Dravkarians in firepower, so we won't try. The strategy became clear a week later when the first reports of combat reached the Galactic Council. Instead of confronting Dravkarian battleships directly, human vessels conducted rapid strikes against supply ships and communication relays before disappearing. The council chamber buzzed with surprised discussions as Vorlath read the reports aloud. Dravkarian supply lines disrupted in 3 sectors, communications jammed using previously unknown methods. 2 supply depots destroyed with no human casualties reported. The Dravkarian observer, Sek Val, stood abruptly. These are not honorable tactics. The humans attack like vermin and flee before battle is joined. Carter rose from his seat. Observer Sek Val seems confused about the nature of war. There is no honor in your empire's attack on civilian populations. We fight to win, not to satisfy outdated concepts of battlefield glory. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Most Confederation species held similar views to the Dravkarians about proper warfare, direct confrontation between opposing forces, according to established protocols. Humanity's approach seemed alien and unsettling to many. As the days passed, more reports arrived. Human ships were integrating Elysian refugees into their crews, combining Earth tactics with local knowledge. Earth's Cyber Warfare Division had discovered and exploited vulnerabilities in Dravkarian communication systems, causing confusion and several friendly fire incidents among Imperial ships. 2 weeks into the conflict, the Dravkarian advance into Elysian territory had stopped completely. Imperial forces were regrouping, changing tactics, trying to adapt to the unpredictable human attacks. In a private meeting with the Elysian ambassador, Carter received unexpected news. The Imperial command has withdrawn forces from 2 of our worlds, the Elysian said, his skin glowing with an inner light that signaled extreme positive emotion. They claim it is a strategic redeployment, but everyone knows they are retreating. Don't celebrate too soon, Carter cautioned. They're adaptable. They'll develop countermeasures to our current tactics. Perhaps, the Elysian agreed. But you have already achieved what was thought impossible. The Dravkarian Empire has never before abandoned conquered territory. The entire Confederation is watching with amazement. Carter knew this was true. Requests for meetings with Earth representatives had increased tenfold. Species that had dismissed humans as primitive now sought their counsel on defense matters. As he headed to his next meeting, Carter's wrist device buzzed with an urgent message from Captain Martinez. Dravkarian main fleet changing formation. Something big is coming. Standing by for instructions. The real test, Carter realized, was just beginning. Carter called an emergency meeting with his military advisors on Proxima Station. The large display in the secure room showed the current positions of Earth ships and Dravkarian forces throughout Elysian space. Captain Martinez reports the Dravkarian main fleet is regrouping, Carter explained to the assembled team. They're adapting to our tactics faster than expected. Major Frank Nelson, Earth's military liaison to the Confederation, studied the OI display closely. They're forming a new pattern, much more spread out than their usual tight formations. They're trying to counter our hit-and-run approach. Can they succeed? Asked Diane. They have the numbers to cover more space, Nelson admitted. If they spread out enough, our ships won't find gaps to slip through. Carter frowned. We need to change tactics before they fully adapt to our current approach. Captain Martinez has suggested something called Operation Trojan, Nelson said. It's risky, but it might throw the Dravkarians off balance again. Explain, Carter said. Nelson brought up a new tactical display. The Elysians have several damaged ships that are no longer battle-worthy. Martinez wants to fill them with our best cyber warfare teams and let the Dravkarians capture them. Intentionally? Diane looked shocked. Yes. Once aboard the Dravkarian vessels, our teams would hack into their systems directly. No remote connections to detect and block. Carter thought for a moment. The risk to our personnel would be extreme. They've volunteered, Nelson said quietly. And the Elysians have offered to join them. Apparently our willingness to fight has inspired them. Have we cleared this with Earth? Carter asked. General Cole has approved the operation. He said, and I quote, sometimes you need to put your hand in the lion's mouth to choke it from the inside. Carter smiled slightly. Inform Captain Martinez she has authorization to proceed with Operation Trojan. But tell her I want emergency extraction plans for every team member. As Nelson left to relay the orders, Diane looked at Carter with concern. Will it work? I don't know, Carter admitted. But warfare is about adaptation. The side that adapts faster usually wins regardless of technology or numbers. The next day, news of the operation spread through Proxima Station. Carter was summoned to an urgent council session where Vorlath presided over a chamber in turmoil. Ambassador Carter, the council leader began. We have received reports of most unusual tactics being employed by Earth forces. Deliberately sacrificing ships and crew goes against all established Confederation military protocols. No crew members are being sacrificed, Carter clarified. They are undertaking high-risk operations willingly. The Zulian representatives' skin flashed red patterns. Our analysis suggests a 92% casualty rate for such actions. Your analysis doesn't account for human determination, Carter replied calmly. Before further discussion could unfold, the chamber doors opened and Sekval, the Dravkarian observer, stormed in. His scales were darkened with anger. The humans have violated all principles of honorable combat, he bellowed, his translator barely keeping up with his rapid speech. They have infected Imperial vessels with electronic diseases. They hide within the ships of their allies. They strike without warning and flee without engaging. Carter stood. Observer Sekval seems confused about the purpose of war. It is not a game with rules that both sides agree to follow. It is a conflict where each side uses its strengths against the enemy's weaknesses. Our empire has conquered 1,000 worlds, Sekval hissed. And yet you cannot seem to handle a few dozen human ships, Carter observed. Perhaps the empire should reconsider its approach. The chamber fell silent at this direct challenge. Most Confederation species would never speak so boldly to a Dravkarian. 3 days later, the results of Operation Trojan became clear. Reports reached Proxima Station of Dravkarian warships turning on each other, their navigation and targeting systems compromised. 6 major vessels had been completely disabled without firing a single shot at them. Carter received a direct transmission from Captain Martinez. Her face showed exhaustion but also fierce pride. Operation Trojan exceeded expectations, Ambassador, she reported. 87% of our teams successfully infiltrated their targets. 72% have already been extracted safely. The Dravkarian fleet is in disarray. Casualties? Carter asked, dreading the answer. 12 confirmed, Martinez said, her voice tight. 7 humans, 5 Elysians. They knew the risks, sir. Carter closed his eyes briefly. Their sacrifice will not be forgotten. What's the current status of the Dravkarian forces? Retreating from all 3 invaded worlds? We're getting reports that their high command is furious. They've never faced anything like this. They're not defeated yet, Carter cautioned. They'll adapt again. We know, sir. That's why we've already begun Operation Hydra. Carter raised an eyebrow. I don't believe I authorized that one. Martinez allowed a small smile. General Cole approved it directly, said you were too busy with diplomacy to be bothered with every tactical detail. And Operation Hydra involves? Multiple simultaneous small team insertions into Dravkarian territory. If they want to chase us, let's give them something to chase. At home. Carter couldn't help but smile. Keep me informed, Captain, and good work. As news of the continued Dravkarian retreat spread through the Confederation, Carter found himself besieged by representatives seeking private meetings. Species that had dismissed humans as primitive now wanted defensive agreements. The Morrigan, longtime trading partners with Earth, offered their advanced medical facilities for human and Elysian wounded. Most surprising was the request from the Zulian representative for a strategic consultation. The 8-limbed being's skin displayed patterns Carter had never seen before as they met in a small conference room. Ambassador, we have run 10,000 simulations of this conflict based on current data, the Zulian said. None of our models predicted these outcomes. Human history is filled with examples of technologically inferior forces defeating superior ones, Carter explained. Technology matters, but so do strategy, adaptability, and determination. The Zulian's skin rippled thoughtfully. My government wishes to send observers to learn from your military operations. I'll need to check with Earth, but I don't foresee objections. As the Zulian left, Diane entered with a message tablet. The Elysian government has announced the formal liberation of New Haven. They're naming the main square after Earth. Carter smiled briefly, but his expression quickly returned to seriousness. The Dravkarians won't accept this easily. They've ruled this region of space for thousands of years. Their next move will be desperate and dangerous. His prediction proved accurate sooner than expected. That evening, Carter received an urgent message. A Dravkarian diplomatic vessel was approaching Proxima Station, requesting an immediate audience with the Galactic Council. They're not giving up, Carter told Diane as they hurried toward the council chamber. They're changing tactics. The chamber was already filled when they arrived. At the center stood a new Dravkarian, taller and more ornately armored than Sekval. The observer stood to the side, his posture submissive before this newcomer. Vorlath introduced the visitor with obvious nervousness. The council recognizes High Commander Kravthar of the Dravkarian Imperial Fleet. The commander surveyed the chamber with cold amber eyes before speaking. The Empire has observed enough of this dishonorable conflict. I am here to end it. Carter felt a chill as those reptilian eyes fixed directly on him. The human called Carter. Kravthar said, "You will meet with me privately, now." It wasn't a request. Carter followed High Commander Kravthar to a private meeting room adjacent to the council chamber. The Dravkarian moved with surprising grace for his large size, his scaled tail barely stirring the air as he walked. Once inside, 2 Dravkarian, Guards positioned themselves at the door while Sekval operated the room's security controls. "We are now private," Kravthar said, his translator giving his words a metallic quality. "No recording devices will function here." "I understand," Carter replied, keeping his voice steady despite the tension in the room. He noted that the commander stood rather than sat, forcing Carter to look up at him. "A power tactic, simple but effective. You have caused the Empire significant difficulty, human," Kravthar said. His amber eyes showed no emotion that Carter could read. "This was unexpected. The defense of innocent lives should never be unexpected," Carter said. The commander made a sound that might have been a laugh. 3 weeks ago, no being in the galaxy would have predicted that Earth vessels would force an Imperial retreat. "Your tactics are dishonorable by our standards, but effective. We work with what we have," Carter said simply. Kravthar studied him for a long moment. "The Empire has existed for 12,000 years, human. We have conquered species whose names are now forgotten. Do you truly believe your primitive vessels can withstand our full might?" "No," Carter admitted. "If you commit your entire fleet against us, you would eventually destroy every human ship. But the cost would be enormous, and you know it." The commander's scaled head tilted slightly. "Explain." "You've already lost more ships in 3 weeks than in the previous century. Your supply lines are compromised. Your communication systems have proven vulnerable, and most importantly, other Confederation species are watching." "The Confederation is weak," Kravthar growled. "Individually, yes," Carter agreed. "But our tactics can be taught. The Zulians have already requested to learn from us." "How many fronts can the Empire fight on simultaneously?" For the first time, Carter saw something like uncertainty in the commander's posture. "The Empire does not negotiate with inferior species," Kravthar said, but his tone had changed slightly. "Then don't call it negotiation," Carter suggested. "Call it strategic redeployment. The Empire has more important concerns than a few Elysian worlds." Kravthar was silent for several moments, his tail making a single slow sweep behind him. "What exactly are you proposing, human?" "The Empire withdraws completely from Elysian space. In return, we establish a clearly defined border between Imperial and Confederation territory. No Confederation ships enter your space, no Imperial ships enter ours. And if we refuse," Carter met the reptilian gaze directly, "then we continue to bleed you. Not enough to destroy the Empire, but enough to make you vulnerable to your real enemies." "What enemies?" Kravthar demanded. "Commander, an empire as old as yours doesn't just have the Confederation to worry about. There must be other powers, beyond known space, that even the Dravkarians fear." The slight stiffening of Kravthar's posture told Carter his guess had hit home. "You know nothing of galactic politics beyond your tiny sector," the commander said, but without conviction. "I know enough about power to understand that no empire lasts 12,000 years without making powerful enemies," Carter replied. "The question is whether you want to waste resources fighting us or save them for more important battles." Kravthar turned away, moving to a view screen that showed the vast star field outside Proxima Station. "The Emperor will not be pleased with a withdrawal. Frame it as a strategic victory," Carter suggested. "You've learned valuable information about a new species. You've tested our capabilities. You can now prepare for future encounters from a position of knowledge." The commander turned back, his gaze calculating. "You are unusually clever for a primitive species." "We had to be," Carter said simply. "Earth's history is full of conflicts between forces with unequal technology and numbers. We learned to use our minds when our weapons weren't enough." After a long moment, Kravthar nodded once. "I will present your terms to the Emperor. The Imperial fleet will cease hostile actions against Elysian worlds while we await his decision." "Thank you, Commander." "Do not thank me, human," Kravthar said coldly. "This is not the end of our interaction with your species. We will meet again, and next time, we will be prepared for your tactics." "Perhaps," Carter acknowledged. "Or perhaps next time we'll meet as trading partners instead of enemies. The choice is yours." As Carter left the meeting room, he found Diane, waiting anxiously in the corridor. "What happened?" she asked quietly as they walked away from the Dravkarians. They're considering our terms, Carter said. The commander will recommend withdrawal. They're actually backing down? Diane sounded disbelieving. For now. They have other concerns beyond our corner of space. We've given them a face-saving way to redirect their resources. Word of the meeting spread quickly through Proxima Station. By the time Carter reached the Earth section, representatives from a dozen species were waiting to speak with him. The Elysian ambassador pushed through the crowd, his skin glowing with emotion. Ambassador Carter, is it true? The Dravkarians are withdrawing? They're considering it, Carter cautioned. Nothing is certain yet, but they've stopped their attacks, the Elysian said. For the first time in weeks, no worlds are under bombardment. You've achieved what the entire Confederation thought impossible. 3 days later, the official word came. The Dravkarian Empire announced a strategic redeployment of forces away from Elysian space. They claimed this was due to more pressing matters of imperial concern, rather than acknowledging any human role in their decision. The Confederation Council held a special session to mark the occasion. Representatives from all 36 member species attended. Vorlath formally recognized Earth's role in the resolution of the crisis. For a young species new to our community, humanity has demonstrated remarkable courage and ingenuity, the council leader said. The Confederation owes a debt to Earth and its representatives. As the council session ended, Carter found himself surrounded by representatives seeking formal agreements with Earth. Defense pacts, technology exchanges, trade deals. Humanity's stock in the galactic community had risen dramatically. The Shulian representative approached last, skin patterns displaying what Carter had learned to recognize as respect. Our models gave you a survival probability of less than 8%, the Julian said. Yet you not only survived but prevailed. Our entire understanding of warfare must be reconsidered. Sometimes the models don't account for all variables, Carter replied. Indeed, the variable of human unpredictability will now be included in all future calculations. As Carter prepared to return to Earth for debriefing, he received a final message from Captain Martinez. Operation complete. All ships returning to Earth space. Elysian defense forces being trained in our tactics. They're quick learners. Carter smiled as he thought about humanity's future in the Confederation. They had entered as the newest, least advanced members. Now, barely 5 years later, species that had existed for millennia sought their advice and protection. Humanity has arrived. On the galactic stage, he told Diane as they boarded the transport back to Earth, and I don't think the galaxy will ever be the same. As their ship pulled away from Proxima Station, Carter looked out at the stars. The Dravkarians would return someday, better prepared for human tactics. Other challenges would emerge. But, for today, a young species from a small blue planet had proven that technology alone didn't determine destiny. Sometimes being human was advantage enough.